we're talking about Mission Mosquito, talking about Globe Observer. I'm going to pass it along to our two speakers and stop my share briefly so they can introduce themselves. I want to welcome Cassie and Teresa to our episode today. So thank you both for being here. Do you want to give a bit of an intro about yourselves before we continue? And hey, Rusty.
Thanks, Emma. I'll go first, Cassie, if that's okay. I'm Teresa Schwerin, and I'm Vice President of Education Programs at the Institute for Global Environmental Strategies. I've worked on NASA, Earth Science and Education and outreach programs for many years now, but I started my career, and by training, I am a librarian and worked in public libraries for several years before moving into NASA and science education with NASA. And the citizen science project that we work on, as Emma noted, is Globe Observer and Mosquito Habitat Mapper and Mission Mosquito. And I'm here with my colleague, Cassie Sofing.
Hi, everybody. I'm Cassie Sofing. I work for the Institute for Global Environmental Strategies also. And my experience, I spent almost 30 years as a classroom educator, and part of my classes that I taught were in remote sensing. And for the last 15 years now, I've been working with the Globe Mission Mosquito project and have had an exceptionally fun time, especially lately as a SciStarter ambassador. It's gotten me a little bit more encouragement to get out and talk about the kinds of programs and citizen science projects that are available. And I've taken that fun to work with lifelong learners in the Osher Institute. So there's lots more K to gray people who are citizen scientists and involved in all kinds of projects along their interests.
Amazing. And we do have two special guests also related to the mosquito or to Globe Observer that I wanted to make sure I mentioned. But you might see Rusty Lowe and Holly Cole in the panelist group at any point. They are here as support, and you can, as you ask questions, they might help us respond. Thanks, Rusty. Hi. Do you two want to introduce yourselves just in short what your role is on the program before we keep going? Sorry, Holly, I know it's lunchtime.
Okay, sorry. My name is Holly Cole. It's really nice to see everybody here today. I manage Globe Observer, its implementation and support for people who are participating in Globe as somebody who's not a student, not guided by an educator, and participating as a volunteer. So that includes supporting the Globe Observer app. When you ask a question and submit it through our automated system, and what feels so impersonal, but it comes to me. So I'm the face on the other end. Kristen and I are. Kristen's also here. So we manage that project, and I'm really excited to meet you all and be here.
Thanks, Holly. And Rusty. Oh, it looks like you're still muted, Rusty. Sorry.
I didn't expect to speak today. Hi, everyone. I'm Rusty Lowe. I have the great privilege of working with Holly and Cassie and Teresa. I am the science lead for the Mosquito Habitat Mapper app. And I look at all your data as well. So thank you.
Amazing. And just a note, Rusty and I had an interview conversation on a previous SciStarter Live, so you'll find that in our YouTube list too if you want to go deep into science of mosquitoes. All right, Cassie, I think, do you want to take it away? I'll start sharing my screen again, but I'll wait until you're ready for that picture because I know it's the...
Do you want me to go, Cassie?
Yes.
Okay, so we want to start with our first act of science during this webinar. We want to practice our observation skills, and we're going to show you a scene. As background, mosquitoes start their lives in water, and a mosquito mom lays her eggs in water, and that hatches into a larva, which matures into a pupa and emerges as an adult mosquito. And so one of the things you're doing, the important thing you're doing with the Mosquito Habitat Mapper is looking for mosquito habitats. And so we're going to share a scene, and we're going to give you several seconds to identify as many, but wait until we tell you to, because we're going to have a waterfall in the chat, to identify potential mosquito habitats. And a clue, mosquito habitats can be as small as 1 teaspoon of water. It doesn't take a lot of water to make a mosquito habitat. So Emma, you want to share the scene. Folks, hold off, and in the chat, take a few seconds to observe the scene. and identify some mosquito habitats. And I'm going to have a countdown because this is a NASA program to 1. And then when I get to 1, I want you to put in the chat the mosquito habitats that you see. Okay, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. What mosquito habitats do you see? Yes, tire, bucket, puddle, tires. You know, if you have a
Those are
tire swing
tires.
in your yard, that's a perfect mosquito habitat. A vase, leaky pipe, anywhere there is still water. Yes, Sharon, that's right. Yes, and so it can be inside your house, it can be outside your house, and sometimes they call it the cryptic places, places you might not expect to see them. So when you're out being a detective and looking for mosquito habitats, that's what you're looking for. So one of the things we want everybody to leave here being able to do is to know how to create a GLOBE account, how to connect that to your SciStarter account, and how to get started with observing. So I'm going to turn it over to Cassie, and she's going to talk about how you do that. Garbage, yes. No, you're not garbage, Cassie. Someone put in the chat. I like shiny things. Someone noted garbage. It could be a bottle cap. It could be that small.
It could be, yes.
Yes.
So I thought since we're a great sized group, could you raise your hand if you already have a Globe Observer account? Or put it in the chat, that I've raised my hand, because I don't think it shows up on this one.
There you go. I see a good 4 or so raise their hands.
I'm seeing a few people, four in the chat, in the participants list who've raised their hands, and maybe half a dozen or so more in the chat. So there's a significant number that do not yet have an account.
So from a SciStarter point of view, as an ambassador, what I'd like to do is just kind of take you out to the steps that you can share with other people when you're sharing about citizen science, how to create your GLOBE account. And the first step is you're going to go to globe.gov and about and join, and then we're going to create it. So I'm going to share my screen just for a moment. And this is the GLOBE homepage, not the GLOBE Observer, but the GLOBE homepage, because from here, we're going to choose About and Join. And if you scroll down to create an account, it's I think it's easier to do it on a larger screen from a laptop or an iPad or from your computer monitor. As somebody who is a little older with small things on text, it's just easier for me to do it this way. But you go through the process of picking what fits best for you. And so if you're a citizen scientist or if you're an informal educator with libraries, you can pick whichever one fits for you. For this case, I'm just going to pick citizen scientist. And if you click connect next, and then it says, okay, for this particular account, I can do a few things. I can use the app and I can do trees, land cover, mosquitoes, and clouds. And I can also create a team if I want to. So in a library, you could have challenges and you could say, for the month of April, Citizen Science Month, I'm creating a team to see how many observations we can collect. So that looks good. You'll answer a few questions about your country. GLOBE is in 127 different countries, but we'll scroll down to pick the United States. And Holly, correct me if I'm wrong on the number. You put in your email address. I think, whoop. And you have a chance to answer if you have used or have been part of the GLOBE program before as a student or no. And then here's the part, oh, don't mind that part. This is the part you want to double check because you can create your own password. And there's some rules that go with creating a password. And we have those in the slide to remind you, but The password length is 8 characters, minimum of 1 upper and 1 numeric, and it's good for a little over a year. So it's one that you will be renewing, but it does take you some time. And once you create that account, then you are all good to go. And I would suggest the next step being going to Observer and then getting the app right from there. So it doesn't matter if you're in the Google Play Store or Apple, you just choose Get the App, choose which one you want, and download it and install it. So if you haven't done it already, take a moment to do that. And it will ask you possibly for your at least on mine, for the iOS, for your Apple ID. So be sure you know that before you do that. So we've downloaded it and you install it, and this is the screen that you'll see then, which is pretty darn interesting. Any questions so far?
And Roland put the link in the chat to use from either your iOS device or your Android device. So Cassie's showing it from a website. I don't know if you're showing it from your
Not from my phone, but from
Yeah.
the Observer website.
So just to note that people need to download from their mobile device.
Yep. So the power of a million acts of science will be connecting your GLOBE observations to your SciStarter account. So in case you're working with people who haven't created their own SciStarter account, it's super easy to do that. The SciStarter homepage, and you just click sign up. And so you create your SciStarter account with the same email and the same password that you used for your GLOBE Observer account. And that part's kind of critical because, and Emma, did you want to do the sharing for the?
Oh, sure. Yes. So once you've created a SciStarter account, you'll be connecting it through the app, the Globe Observer app. So let me just really quickly drop in the link for the direct link for SciStarter to sign up for an account, because I find that helpful. I believe it's, yep, log in or sign up. So if you want to go to the website with me, that's the direct link to sign up for the SciStarter account, which only requires your email address and a password. You can come up with the other things later. And I'll share a screen from my Globe Observer app to show you where you connect them. We don't want to rush you through this. We know that it takes a little bit of time, and I see someone's raised their hand. If you have a question, feel free to drop it in the chat too, while I screen share. And then after, I can hopefully help you ask that question again. So let me do that. There it is. Oh, of course. Except we did not test my screen share before this. We tested yours, which was possibly a mistake because now it doesn't let me. Okay, Cassie, you might need to screen share for this part instead because my screen share ability is not showing up on my phone, which I've had it done before. So let me end my screen share for a moment. Okay. You might have tabs at the top of your screen, by the way, for the Zoom call. If you go over to the Cassie Sofing's device, if you sneak over to that tab, you'll be able to see the shared screen. So when you go into the Globe Observer app and you log in, at the very bottom there, there is a gear icon, which usually means settings. So we click there. Awesome. And then as you scroll down, Cassie's already got it set up. So if you notice that orange reddish one underneath app settings that says Globe Observers connected to SciStarter, hers is already logged in. So if you were to click that as is now on your account, it should say connect Globe Observations to SciStarter and it will be grayed out. When you click that, it'll have you authorize the connection and then you're good to go. You only have to do this once. And so once you've logged in, it should be really easy to, it'll authorize and then you'll be set to go. And that's about it. And you don't have to worry about it ever again until you reset your password. And then you might need to, but and that's about it. Cassie, anything else about the app view that they should know about?
No, but we left all the information in the slides that you can download and take a look at, and you can use in presentations that you might do with your community and your libraries during programming also. So
Yes.
I will stop sharing. And
Okay.
I think
And I'll
Teresa's
bring you
back.
back.
So
This is just a replay of what we just did.
yep, there's our summary slide. You registered for an account in Globe Observer. You created your SciStarter account and connecting them. Those are the three things you need to do then.
And one note of context, since I didn't actually give a proper explanation at the start, we're talking about acts of science. And so if you want to know why, it is Citizen Science Month, which I mentioned at the top of this event. But if you want to learn more about it, I'll talk about it near the end of the event. And I've just dropped a link in the chat for citizensciencemonth.org in the meantime. And then I'll pass it on to you, Teresa.
Is it me or is it Cassie? I'll go if you want me
Okay.
to, but okay. So when you open the Globe Observer app, you select the Mosquito Habitat Mapper tool, and everything you need to, all the tutorials, all the information to do the Mosquito Habitat Mapper are in the app. And the 4 basic steps really go out, look for places where there's still water, where water's collected. Notice whether or not there are mosquito larvae in the water. And mosquito larvae are tiny, tiny, tiny. They're like maybe 1/4 inch to 1/2 inch, and they have the very distinctive darting through the water. And there's a video we're going to show you in a second to see what they look like. A lot of the photos that we show them greatly magnified so you can see the features. But really looking for those places, noting whether or not there are larvae present, documenting it with photographs, and you can take, I believe, up to 7 or 9 photographs. So of the habitat and of the broader area, both are helpful. If you want, and then eliminate the habitat. If it's in an artificial container, you can dump the water. If it's in, can cover it. If it's not something you can dump out the water, but to eliminate that habitat. And it's important because it's helping to make your community safer by doing that. Now, if you want to go further, there's additional steps. You can use either a clip-on magnifier or an electronic magnifier or a microscope to magnify and take photographs of the larva and go through a key to identify whether or not they're one of the 3 genera that are medically important, that potentially can carry, can cause disease. Most mosquitoes are nuisance mosquitoes. They just bite. There are over 3,500 species of mosquitoes, but really the species under 3 genera, Culex, Anopheles, and Aedes, are the most medically important ones. And those are the ones that the key in the app takes you through to identify the photos, whether they're one of those 3 genera. And so everything is in the app. There are photographs, there are short tutorials and videos, all in the app to help you get started. And the number one thing you can do to get ready is to start observing. And whether you're going to explain to other people what they're doing, you're promoting the Mosquito Habitat Mapper and taking the observations, or if you're going to help coach someone doing it, taking observations yourself and getting in the habit of doing that is the best thing you can do to prepare. So if we go to the next slide, and Rusty, Holly, Kristen, add or correct anything I might have said, but here, this is a bottle cap. It looks like it's something bigger, but it's just a bottle cap. And you can see the little larva darting around in the water. That's what you're looking for. I went out yesterday to see if I had any. The place I usually find them is in a planter where I've got my herb garden in the backyard, and the little thingy underneath the pot, I always check that because that's where I'll find them. And I picked it up, and it took me several seconds looking at it to notice. I saw some little things darting in there. And so I did find some larvae, dumped that water out yesterday. And
Teresa, just out of curiosity,
sure.
how long does it take between, so for standing water, once it exists, how long does it take for there to be moving larvae? Like, would you see them immediately or within a day or two, or how long does it take
Mhm.
them for?
Well, and Rusty can expand on this. It depends on the temperature and how warm it is, how long it takes for them to develop. It might be up to 5 days, Rusty, for to go from egg to adult mosquito. It might be a little bit shorter if it's really good conditions. Rusty, add on to that, please.
Oh, muted still, Rusty.
Rusty's our science lead for
There
Mosquito
we go.
Habitat Mapper.
Yeah, but yeah, exactly. It really is temperature dependent. But if
Mhm.
it's a nice sunny day, in most of the places in the US, we expect a mosquito to go from the laid egg to to a fully adult flying mosquito between 5 and 7 days. So really, you could see a larva hatch in just, really just in a day. So
Wow.
it happens very, very fast. And that's one of the reasons why, we're saying you got to look all the time. If you don't, if you wait 7 days, you're going to miss them. So thank you for
Right. Yeah,
And
absolutely.
so if you go to the next slide, this is Citizen Science Month, and I want you to be a part of A Million Acts of Science. So we'd love for you to do the Mosquito Habitat Mapper and take observations as part of our intensive observation period in April. It's a great time to practice some programs you might do this summer or in your classroom next year. But we also wanted to, with this slide, tell you about, as part of Globe Mission Mosquito, Cassie and Rusty organize monthly webinars where they talk about the science, they talk about different things. And in the February webinar, Dr. Dee Yang, who is a scientist at the forefront of integrating citizen science into computer models, or system computer models that she's developing. She talked about what she was doing. People ask, what happens to the data? And really, you are contributing to science, and you're contributing, paying it forward to science. So your one observation might not seem like much, but combined with lots of other ones, you're making a contribution to science. And so you can go to the February webinar. Those are all recorded, and hear from Dr. Dee Yang from University of Florida, the research she's doing using the Mosquito Habitat Mapper data. In March, Dr. Anita Schiller, who is an entomologist, she talked about mosquitoes and mysterious mosquitoes. So you can join these webinars at any time, and they are recorded. So I think the next slide, I wanted to tell you about some things you can use for programming. And I'm going to talk about things related to libraries because we wanted to get a lot of libraries involved. This is National Library Week. There are things you can practice now to get ready for your summer programs. But one of the things when we developed Globe Observer, it was taking the Globe program into out-of-school audiences. And we knew we needed resources that could be used in those settings. And so if you go to observer.globe.gov, in the menu, there's a heading for Lead a Program. And there's several resources in that toolkit. Many of those we field tested with public libraries. And so they gave us lots of feedback on how they use these activities in their programs. And one of the top things they said that they needed, they wanted to see examples of how other libraries have created programming using Globe Observer. So we've got a library guide. We also have a camps guide that just came out in the last couple of months. There's a 4-H guide. There's a Girl Scout guide. So lots of ideas for how you can use Globe Observer in out-of-school settings. So if you go to the library guide and you can click on any of the 4 tools, clouds, mosquito habitat mapper, land cover trees, and they're examples of library programs. And 2 things we've added are 2 collections of resources, Globe resources, to support 2025 summer library program themes. And so there are 2 big themes that many libraries participate in. You don't have to participate in those to do these, but they are Level Up at Your Library, which is part of the iRead program, and that's a focus on games and puzzles. So thinking about those cryptic places where mosquitoes they have their habitats. You put on your detective work for that. And Color Our World, which is the SciStarter did a recent webinar on that for libraries with StarNet libraries on activities related to art and and GLOBE are in those collections. And so I wanted to share some examples from library programs. If we go to the next slide. Yes. So one of the things we collaborated with SciStarter on is their library kits, and they did one for mapping mosquito habitats. They collaborated with us to develop this kit. It's one of several SciStarter kits. This includes a supply list of what to go in your kit. Libraries can either use this as a circulating kit to check out for patrons. They can use it to do programs. And so it's a collection of here are all the supplies. And SciStarter developed different printables and promotional materials. So how to catalog information in library guide on how to catalog things like this citizen science library kit, bookmarks, rack cards, flyers. So lots of really great resources that you can download and use in your programs ready to go. And so we've got that in our library kit, but that's a link to it directly as well. And if you go to the next slide, so I'm going to lean into things that are very library friendly that we've heard from librarians that these are very useful in their programs, and they've told us about how they're using them. So one of them, it's a game called Mosquito Habitats and Hideouts, and it's to learn about the different places where water collects and mosquito moms can lay their eggs. And it can be played 3 ways. It's a standard bingo game, and we've got an activity guide with 30 different playing cards. Libraries have printed these and laminated them and used them over and over. We also have 2 variations on that, one called Name That Habitat, where you describe the habitat and the other players guess what that habitat is. And the third one is called Sketch That Habitat, where you draw the habitat and the other players guess what it is. And so at this link, you can download the PDFs of an activity guide, the playing boards and cards, a call sheet for the slides, or slides to use. And so if you go to the next slide, some examples of library programs using this. Some variations using habitats and hideouts include scavenger hunts. On the right there, you see photos from Los Angeles Public Library, and they did an indoor scavenger hunt where they posted photos of different habitats around the library, and patrons went to find those habitats. On the right is a photo from Lee County Public Library. They did this as part of a Head Start program where they took them outside and they looked for mosquito habitats, and they've got their sheets to check those off. And they also had them as a kind of an extension to it, draw a map. Think about when you go home, where are places where you might find mosquito habitats. Another idea is a walk with a purpose. In LaSalle Public Library in Illinois, there's from Donna Blomquist, a librarian who we've worked with. They have neighborhood walks where participants have identified unwanted mosquito habitats throughout the community. They place an emphasis on litter cleanup to remove, she called it unnatural or artificial habitat. So picking up trash is making your community safer. And so they pair those outdoor activities with indoor programs that teach about the life cycle of mosquitoes and what they look like at each stage. So if you go to the next slide. So we have collected activities under a guide called the Mission Mosquito Larva Hunter's Guide. And this has, pun intended, bite-sized and buzzworthy activities, so 27 of them. They're scaffolded, so they're in a sequence that makes sense. However, you can use them, pull things out to use. They're in a Google slide format, so you can make a copy of it and customize it. It also has a companion facilitator's guide. And in that guide, it has all the answers to all the questions. It has information on strategies. It tells you with the different activities, what participants are doing, what patrons are doing, why they're doing it, and ways that you can help them in doing that, and strategies for coaching them. And so on the right there is just from that guide, the mosquito life cycle. And there's an activity after this one where you can put those in order. There's a vocabulary alert. If this were live, you could click on it and hear how larva sounds or how pupa sounds. And if you go to the next slide, I'll go through these fairly quickly. Other things in the guide, the scene we showed at the beginning when we did the where might you find mosquitoes in this place, there are different scenes in the guide that you can pull out and use, and people either use it like on a display it like we did and have people identify the habitats. There could be a printout that they circle, all different kinds of ways. And so they also identify why these would be a good habitat. To go to the next slide, another example from the guide. I love this one, the mosquito proboscis, the mechanics of mosquito bite. And you know, the mosquito proboscis, the nose, there are 6 needles in that nose, and this goes through how a mosquito actually bites you with these 6 needles. I love the wow. Or I don't know if that's a wow or the horror emoticon. But Liz Burke, who worked with Cassie and Rusty and I, she developed this activity. If you go to the next slide, this one I particularly love. It's good for life. It's good for everybody. But she wrote this poem called Ode to the Proboscis. And I will do a very short dramatic reading. So all mosquitoes have a mouth. That's how they take in food. But females also bite with theirs. They can be downright rude. She only bites to get some blood. She's not trying to be mean, but her eggs cannot develop without using blood protein. In her mouth are found 6 needles. Wait, 6 needles? You may scream. Why does she need 6 needles? 6 needles seems extreme, and I'll stop there. But then we ask learners to, it's your turn. Create your own mosquito poem, story, song, or cartoon. And when we say learners, Cassie mentioned at the beginning, we're talking kids to seniors, K to gray. Don't assume these are for just children. We've used these, the libraries we worked with have used these in programs for all ages, for families, intergenerational, for everyone. And it's fun. And so the next slide, an activity you could pair with this is the Zika Zine, which our colleagues at UCAR, Lisa Gardner, wrote this, created this book. And it is about Globe Observer and the Mosquito Habitat Mapper. You can download the book. It's a story in 9 chapters. Each chapter is on 1 or 2 page spread, and it is wonderful. It is very creative, but it is directly related to the Mosquito Habitat Mapper. And I've got a link there to a video webinar we did. Rusty also presented that, talking about the science, but Dr. Lisa Gardner reading the Zika Zine. It's really great. And if you go to the next slide. And also, as part of the Zika Zine, you can create your own zine. And so you can download How to Draw Wanda. There are 3, this is a science story. It's about 3 fictional mosquitoes, but they do things that real mosquitoes do. And so there are 3 mosquitoes. There is Maurice, who is a mosquito, little mosquito has big dreams of being the first mosquito astronaut in space, and this which are dashed when he learns that NASA does not fly mosquitoes in space. There is Hester, who is an older know-it-all kind of mosquito, and everybody knows a know-it-all like Hester. And then there's Wanda, who is a new mosquito, and she's just become an adult mosquito, and Wanda is kind of guiding her on her journey. So How to Draw Wanda, and then make your own Zika Zine. So go to the next slide. The guide also pulls in lots of activities that are in lots of different places that you can find in the Mosquito Hunter's Guide. Building a mosquito larva trap, have patrons or learners upcycle, bring from home plastic bottle and actually make a trap. You know, one of the things that we emphasize is safety first, and larvae do not bite, but they can't spread disease, but you know, larvae can quickly become adult mosquitoes. So we want people to be safe, and we want them to take protection when they're outside. If you're looking for larvae, there may be adult mosquitoes, but building a larva trap is a safe way to find mosquitoes. And so the instructions there, and Rusty did a great video demo on how to make a larva trap. And I think I might only have 1 or 2 more. I won't Yeah, and so we've got a larva hunters training. So you could use this as part of a science club where um, it takes you through how to recognize what is a mosquito larva versus an imposter. There's a bug shot lineup with clues to look for with whether it's a larva or a different kind of um, creature. And there's also a level 2 training where you have a mystery larva specimen where you have photos of them and screens from the app to go through and do the identification using photos. And at the end, there's a certificate you can use to give to participants who've completed their mosquito larva hunter training. And I believe that might be the last one. Yes, it is. So there's our email addresses. And Cassie, do you want to? Cassie wrote a blog called The Mosquitoes Story and You for SciStarter. And do you want to talk about what you and Emma are going to be doing in Rusty this Thursday?
Well, yes, we're going to go through our blog, and a lot of the information that Teresa shared, the blog would give you the backstory of the mosquitoes, knowing that the larvae are the part that, you know, that don't bite at all because they're in the water, but you know how Teresa said they quickly mature to adult and why they need our blood or blood source. But anyway, we'll be going through that, and again, contributing to the Million Acts of Science for Citizen Science Month, making your globe observations. We suggest if you have the time, and we've timed ourselves making observations, but a mosquito observation of an artificial habitat can take probably less than 5 minutes. So the time commitment is not much. If you find larvae, taking a photograph and or sampling it from the water and taking a photograph, that part might take just a few minutes more. But what's important to the scientist is the surrounding area where you found your mosquito larvae. So the next step would be to take a land cover observation. And those are built right into the app. So they're seamless. As soon as you're done with one, you can do the other. The most important part is uploading your observations to the database. So don't just stop at taking photographs and think you're done, but there's one more step, and that's submitting your observations. The app is really cool in the way that it offers badges and streaks, so you can keep track of how many specific observations you've uploaded for each of the 4 tools. And if you've got a whole streak of 5 days, maybe where you've taken a cloud, tree, land cover, and mosquito all in 1 week, you'll see your 5-day streak. So we encourage you to check out the blog, download the app, connect to SciStarter, and start making observations, because SciStarter is already at what, 10,000? No, wait, 100,000?
Oh yeah, over 100,000. I think
Yep,
last time I checked earlier today it was 135
yep,
something, but we can
I
get a
checked too. But
cost.
make your observations, they'll count towards the SciStarter, and they'll contribute to a lot of researchers who are looking at the AI for mosquito larva images. So
Yeah, excellent. And I on Thursday too, I'll make sure that you all are very well prepared to be able to make sure it counts towards the 1 million acts of science, either through making sure your account's all set up, or also using the reporting tool on SciStarter. Which, speaking of, for those of you online with us, if you wouldn't mind giving me a thumbs up or a yes or no in the chat, for those of you who were able to mark or sorry, were able to connect to your SciStarter and Global Observer accounts, that would be great because we'll actually report that today. So we can count that as acts of science for today. And all of you who responded to the where are the habitats in that one image, that'll also count. So we'll count all those up and we'll add that in as acts of science for today. Thank you to those of you who are adding their thumbs up in the chat. Perfect. Hopefully we can get a few more because I know more of you did that one. If you haven't already, feel free to do it now too, since we have time. And this is that event on Thursday, if you would like to sign up. And Roland will drop the link in the chat to register for it as well in a moment here. Okay, I see more thumbs up coming up. Sweet.
yeah,
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry, Cassie.
no, I'm done. I'm just excited to see the thumbs up.
Yeah. I know if you have any trouble doing that, by the way, feel free to let us know in the chat what we can do to help. And as we close out too, we can also let you speak out loud, we'll give you mic permission so we can help you make that happen. Yeah. Okay, I'm going to go to the next slide for a second. The link for the registration will also go in another slide in a second here, as well as a couple other projects or events. Excuse me, my brain is on fire apparently today. Are there any questions so far about everything we talked about? Questions? I think you guys were very thorough. So if there are questions, it might be as they're preparing for different programs and such, they'll be like, oh, now I have a question.
And we'll send out a link to our Google Slides, so you'll have those. And Cassie and I are here. Please reach out to us if you need anything, if you have any questions, we're here to help you.
And you know what? I would love to actually, since we talked about it earlier today, those event recipe cards, why don't we take a minute
Oh,
to actually show
yeah.
those off?
Okay.
So I'm going to actually go to Citizen Science Month to get there. So if anyone is feeling ready for doing events during Citizen Science
Ooh,
Month this month.
137. Cool.
Yeah. Oh yeah, we went up by 2,000 over the last couple hours.
Nice.
Perfect. If I go to event resources on here, it'll give me information on how to plan an event, etc. If I go to plan, I can actually look at all the recipe cards here, which is more than just the Mosquito Mapper project, but that is included here. So we have things from citsi.org, we have Fathomverse, Stall Catchers, a lot of different projects. But most recently, we have the Mission Mosquito. So I added all of the various ones. So if you want to go through, I know there's multiple different projects in here. Do you want to describe them a little bit as I go through them?
Yeah, so we started putting these together, and when I say we, it was primarily Cassie. Um, when you shared the format you were using last year, and we thought, well, that's a pretty cool format. We've included these at the end of our slide deck, so you can use it as a refresher of what the activities are about. But we have several related to the Larva Hunter's Guide, habitats and hideouts, setting the stage, making a mosquito trap. And if you just want to kind of page through them. And so the bug shot lineup, I love the bug shot lineup. And yeah, so
So
the
that's great
things we
because they're
didn't talk
different.
about today, but things that you can maybe give you some ideas of how, remind you how, what the activity is about, and links to more information or to download things. Several of these, I'd say just about all of these are in the Informal Educators Toolkit for Globe Observer, but this is meant to be just a little extra something to help you, reminder of how to do the activities and some tips and tricks.
It's almost like a crash course on how to do each of these. I'm wondering, so for all of these different programming opportunities, they all connect to doing the one type of data submission through the app, right? Or are there other sections within the app that instruct them on how to do or how to grab other data based on these activities? Or is it just the one submission or type of data? Did that
Well,
make sense?
it's all observational data and photographs, but there are different things that you're doing for the cloud observations versus mosquito habitat mapper versus trees and land cover. So with clouds, you're observing the sky and what types of clouds are in the sky, how much of the sky is covered by clouds, visibility, things like that. With the tree tool, you are using the tools in your phone to measure the tree height. And with land coverage, you are taking photographs of the landscape, all four northeast, southwest, up and down. And if you want to go further, classifying the land cover. So you're doing different things, but it's all observing your environment and observing your Earth system. And so we hope that if you do one, that you'll do other tools as well.
As a frequent Globe Observer person I often use the clouds one, but I'm really excited because I feel very ready to do some mosquito mapping, especially where I am because it's about to get very
Yes.
mosquito-y
And
out
this is
here.
a
And
great
you guys
time.
know you're close to me.
This is a great time to do it because they're starting to emerge, and that's important information about phenology and seasonal change and when these mosquitoes are starting to appear.
Right, especially with this weird weather where it's back and forth between super warm and then super cold suddenly.
Mhm.
At least out here in the DC area, it was a kind of a whiplash in the last couple of days.
Yeah.
So should be interesting. We have some comments in the chat that I just wanted to mention that some of you are mentioning that work made easier and everything. So thank you to everyone who's expressing gratitude because I'm really excited these are things that you want to see. And these tools and activities are great for students, especially in a position where they can make a difference in mosquito disease reduction in their community. Absolutely. Yeah. And if you want to learn more about and I mentioned it before, if you want to learn more about the mosquito aspect of it, the science behind it, we do have another live that actually, Roland, if you wouldn't mind finding that live episode with Rusty and I interviewing, that would be a good one to follow up on if this is a relatively new project to you as well. Yeah. Awesome. That's great. Okay, before we close out, because we're a couple minutes out from the top, I just wanted to show you all this again. I didn't do an official count based on the totals we saw there in the chat with the how many people mentioned the habitats and the raising hands for being able to connect your two accounts. So I'm just going to show you what it will look like and then I'll count it later. So essentially, because it's Citizen Science Month, we're going to add to that total. And as a facilitator of this event, I'm going to say, I'm going to report acts of science that I facilitated with others and go to the reporting form. If you're reporting from somewhere else, please use one of these links if you'd like. This one is a catch-all, so wherever you're from, you can always put it here. But if you want to report from a specific location, that also gets you in connection with the teams in other countries that are our regional partners to do citizen science. So it'll ask you questions like your email, do you have a SciStarter account, what name you want displayed, because we end up being on the Wall of Fame, which is really fun to see on the main page of citizensciencemonth.org. And we just describe what we did. So identified mosquito habitats and set up Globe Observer and SciStarter accounts. And then I estimate the number of acts. I'm going to make up a number right now. I'll have to change it later. I'm going to say 50 because we're awesome. I saw a lot of waterfalling answers earlier, so I would not be surprised. And the number of people who participated, that is, I think our top number we had in there was 30, which is great. And then if we were a smaller group, I probably would add all our names in here so we could see all of our names in the Wall of Fame. But since it's a larger group, I don't want to do that. And then I would say Globe Observer, mosquito. If I can spell mosquito, that'd be good. Mosquito Habitat Mapper, Observer. Oops, Observer. And then we are in well, we're multiple actually. Maybe instead of which country, we could say international. And then I could say whether or not I want the SciStarter awesome bi-monthly newsletters. And then I would just submit it. Now, as someone, actually, I think it might be not my turn yet to fill these out, but I will submit this so you can see what it looks like. Oh, whoops. Can't forget that. Go. Yes, I do. Okay, we should be good. Oh no, I made an error. SciStarter Live. And then I'll fix this number once we get there. Submit. Ta-da! And that's it. So you can submit this on behalf of others as a facilitator, since a lot of you are coming from libraries and educator perspectives. But you can also, if you're reporting acts just for yourself, so if you're involved in doing a project otherwise, you can also report just for your own acts of science. I will note though, if you connected your Globe Observer and SciStarter accounts, you actually don't need to let us know when you do Globe Observer. It's only when you do an event, because that means you can tell us how many people were involved. But you are a part of the affiliate process if you connect the two accounts. So we'll actually have it counted already. It'll be counted in our test tube automatically because y'all are awesome and a part of our community now. Yeah. Anything to add, Teresa? It looked like you were going to say something.
I was going to say, I thank you for saying that, because we're hoping all of you will go out and do programs and report them on this Million Acts of Science, so we learn more about how you've gotten more and more people involved in SciStarter and Globe Observer.
Yeah, we aim to be the community to bring you all back and make this happen every year. And in between then, too, Acts of Science, Million Acts of Science only happens in April, but millions of Acts of Science happen on a weekly basis throughout the year. So it's all about getting us to be excited about it. So I'm really glad that you all are here to present to us. So thank you so much for presenting, and thank you to our friends who joined us too to give some other expertise to Rusty and Holly. Thank you all for joining us and telling us more about these things. I'm really excited because I didn't know about all those resources before having these conversations. So y'all are very, very prepared with all kinds of things. It sounds like people are excited and grateful to be able to have easier ways to participate too.
Cool.
And to close us out, I'm going to just switch back to this one. If you do want to join us on Thursday, you are more than welcome to. Feel free to. We also have another NASA-funded projects event earlier in the day that you can join us. It's for Do NASA Science Live, which involves space projects. So if you'd like to join us for some space projects, you are welcome to join us then. It's at 12:30 p.m. It's aimed towards service members, veterans, and their families, but everyone is welcome. You don't have to be in that community to be a part of the event. And then later that night, 8 p.m. ET, will be Cassie and I joining with Rusty, I believe, at the Globe Observer Connect. And then if you're interested in joining us for Earth Day and SciStarter, doing some projects together with StarNet as well, we'll be doing that on April 22nd at 6 p.m. Also a good one to do a watch party for. So if you're in a library, feel free to just put us up on a screen and we'll just do the science together. So good stuff
Cool.
there. Yeah, awesome. Our team, anything else we want to share before we close out in this one last 60-second time period?
Thank you for
Emma.
having us.
Yep. Thank you, Emma and Roland, for everything. It was wonderful from my point of view.
Absolutely.
And mine as well.
Absolutely. Anytime. And thank you so much for being an ambassador. I'm really excited to have the multiple perspectives from your end too.
Yep.
Sweet. Thanks everyone for joining us. We'll go ahead and close the recording out. Hi, Rusty. And move off from Facebook, but hopefully we'll see you next time too. Bye.